Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. As my hair gets longer, there are some people in my life who remember me the first time my hair was long. This is one of those guys probably yelling to get a haircut across the Evening Sun newsroom back in the late 80s. One of my mentors and longtime friends. It's been a little while since we've had John Eisenberg joining us here. You can follow him out on Twitter and, of course, at BaltimoreRavens.com. John, last week I reached to some friends of ours, Peter King and Jeff Zrebeck and different people. And I thought, you know what? I can do some radio here a week out on the draft. There's no chance Orlando Brown's going to get dealt. So I'll get ahead of this and I'll get some stuff in. So we have some good radio to run next week. 5 o'clock, the Coons Ford text comes out, and we've dealt Orlando Brown. Would I have made a fool out of you had I had you on last Wednesday or Thursday and said, John, they're not really going to deal Orlando Brown, right?
Oh, no, you wouldn't have made it. No, I would have said it's possible. I didn't know when it was coming. I thought it was very possible.
Really? You thought they'd find a suitor?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. All right.
I actually did. I didn't know when. I would have said not last Friday at 5 o'clock. And by the way, I had a column that was already edited and just waiting in the queue. So I had to.
Dead on arrival?
Work. Yeah, it's like the old days, you had to go in and do
rewrite.
Yeah. So that was all right. But
what's the old thing they would do? They would just take the paper and just go rewrite.
Rewrite. So no, but I thought they would do it. I thought it would happen maybe the night of the draft or the day before the draft as things really heated up. But that surprised me when, I'll say that, but not terribly.
All right, look, you don't speak for the team, but you're more inside than I am, and sometimes you feel like you're probably more outside than I am. I don't know.
Definitely.
I've had to opine because I have literally, in the old days, I'd know a little something, somebody tell me a little something. When this deal happened, I thought to myself, were they in a hurry to get rid of the kid? Are they going to say nice things about him? Do they really believe he's a left tackle? And would they have sent him to the Pittsburgh Steelers? Like we have the Orioles and the Yankees together this week, mixing and matching here. John, I remember when the Orioles and Yankees wouldn't do business together after the McGregor-Dempsey fleecing that we had here, back in the day. And I would think you would not send Orlando Brown to the Chiefs if you we're really worried about him being the left tackle of a team you have to beat in late January.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. That's why the Ravens don't send many guys to the Steelers. And as a matter of fact, when they did send Chris Wormley to the Steelers, I was like, it's not a great reflection on Chris Wormley. I'm sorry. If they're sending him to the Steelers, they don't care. So that's tough. So Brown is a little bit that way because they are trying to catch the Chiefs, but I mean they really love the kid. They do love him, and they didn't want to trade him. I mean, he's a great kid and a good solid player, and he played well at left tackle. So,
but this is unusual, right? I mean, kid's a legacy. I liked his father more than I liked him. I mean, I'll be frank, and I would tell him that. It may not be a poor reflection, but like the kid asked out of here. No one asked out of here. This is an unusual circumstance all the way around. And the fact that they got back into the first round and got an extra year out of whomever they draft this week, right? That the deftness of the Ravens and their ability to say, you don't want to be here. We love you. We'll tell John we love you. We'll tell Ness we love you. And we'll send your ass to Kansas City and come beat you. Because like that probably doesn't sit well that I think I'm something that you don't think I am, and boo-hoo and trade me. That doesn't happen here often.
Well, the part that I don't think the team liked was the surprise factor. As far as, it's an interesting situation. I mean, they had a left tackle. They had just paid the left tackle. And so, and then he gets hurt. The whole situation is just so strange and unique. You pay a guy all $100 million. He gets hurt 48 hours later. And, so you put this kid in. He did well. He's always thought of himself as a left tackle. So it really was sort of, in that regard, really not much. The Ravens' hands were tired. They want Ronnie Stanley at left tackle. And that's the guy they want there. And that's the guy they'll have there. So
they better be convinced he's healthy now, right? I mean, part of the not dealing Orlando Brown last week that you would have talked me out of, if you would have literally said they still might deal him, I'd have said, to whom and for what and why? Why would you give him away in a year when you have Lamar and you need him at right tackle? You might need him at left tackle if Ronnie Stanley's not right. He's not undealable. You just won't find anybody to give you what you really want for him.
I think they just made the judgment. Number one, he didn't want to. It's not that he didn't want to be here, but he didn't want to play that position anymore, and he's going to be gone in a year. So what can we get for him? Do we want the comp pick, or do we want to really get some stuff for him? And they just made that decision. It's hard to argue with it. They got a lot in return. They gave up a lot. They got a lot. It's called a trade. I'm right in the middle of a column I'm working on. It's like everyone here is used to like the Kerry Vedvik trades, where you send a kid that has never even played in a game and you get a 5th round draft pick for him, and the Vikings cut him in 3 weeks. What a trade! I mean, DeCosta's done that several times. He got something for Jermaine Illuminor, who wasn't even going to make the team, and he got Calais Campbell for a 5th round pick. He's a good trader, a very good trader. But the thing is, you don't always just fleece the other team.
I think this is a fleecing. I've called it. I went on Kansas City radio Monday morning and I called it a fleecing. You know why I think it's a fleecing? Because the Baltimore Ravens don't believe he's a left tackle. Really. And in a traditional offense, I think it's even different. The league didn't see him as a left tackle 3 years ago.
No,
so to think all of a sudden he's a $120 million left tackle, have at it. Give me the 31st pick. So I'm on team Eric with this one. I'm shocked that they put enough effort into dealing him and that they actually got him dealt, because I would have thought you're not going anywhere. You're going to play right tackle unless you're going to be a malcontent, or there's even a thought that you're going to be a malcontent. Then you got to get the hell out of here. But then the thought is, well, I hope Ronnie Stanley's okay, because he was the next best option there. And it sounds to me like the Ravens are going to get back to work on draft weekend here in probably taking a pick or two along the offensive line, right?
I think so. Any number of things could happen. I mean, the choices, they could trade up now. I mean, they got, 2 firsts, 2 thirds, and no second. You could trade up there. You got a guy you want at 20 that you can't get at 27 and 31. You can do that. And maybe one of these pass rushers, that wouldn't shock me. It also wouldn't shock me. Of course, their MO is to trade back and get more picks. And that, of course, wouldn't surprise me in the least. Or they could stand pat, get 2 first-round picks. I mean, it could easily happen. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. And that I don't know how that's going to play out at all.
John Eisenberg is here. He is at BaltimoreRavens.com, also out on Twitter, also writing books on all sorts of stuff. You can go pick up in the offseason. Don't tell him you're bored, because John's got books out there on the Cowboys and on Cal Ripken and on horses and all sorts of stuff. You can go out and check out. John, from the Ravens inside perspective of not having a lot of games, not having a lot of tape, not having combine, this really plays into the Ravens' hands, right? Like, if the Ravens all got locked in a room and had to pick football players and everybody else got locked in a room, that would probably make the Ravens even that much better, right?
Yeah, I think so. They certainly know what they like. And that was at the draft thing last week, the press conference. What did they say? We know what an outside linebacker looks like. It's like, yeah, I think you do. I mean, so they, yes, I mean, they're good at this. They don't buy into the group think on a lot of guys. Orlando Brown is Exhibit A of a guy that everybody else turned their back on, and they said, we think he can play. So there's your example right there. But they are good at this. They've been good at it a while. They're not only good at identifying separating the contenders and the pretenders, in terms of prospects, but they're good at knowing what fits for them. And, it's pretty singular at this point. They are playing a little differently than the rest of the league in terms of offense and in terms of defense, with Wink sort of mixes and matches and different pieces here and there. So they know what they like, and they are good at it.
And they evaluate differently, right? I mean, they see Willie Snead as a different kind of piece. They probably see big physical safeties in a different kind of light, if they have speed especially, right? From a draft perspective of what they want Nick Boyle is different than what anybody else would do with Nick Boyle or Pat Ricard, right?
Definitely. And it is changing. It's evolving, and you can see it evolving. There's certainly more of an emphasis on just speed everywhere. Speed. Nick Boyle has been here how many years, and they love him, but I don't know what the chances would be of getting him today. Not as fast. They want speed everywhere. Speed. And, you can see it all over their roster. And so it is changing. I mean, and pro football is a faster game now. So it does evolve. But they definitely have an MO. some things don't change. They want sort of the hard-nosed guys, they're just the players that look like Ravens. You can just spot it a mile away. They've had 1,000 of them, and they certainly have got that down.
Offensive line, all told, Bozeman at center, there's been some thoughts about that. I think they have some flexibility here for sure.
They
But
do.
until they figure that out, and I go back to this with Flacco all the time, John, with Matt Burke being there for him, and then what happened after Matt Burke left. The center position for me with Lamar, they need to get a marriage of some kind.
They
They
do.
need to find a center for the next couple of years. I don't know if that's Bozeman or not. I don't know what they're looking for, but they better come out of this with something there. Because you could talk about Yonda being gone for a period of time and moving guys around, and Ronnie Stanley getting his money, and now Zeus is gone, right? But that center position, you can't be flip flopping every year with that with Lamar.
I agree, and I think that's one area where they've cut corners a little bit, and they've gotten by with undrafted free agents. They've coached them up. They do a good job of that. Guys like Matt Skura and Pat McCarry and these guys, you can put them out there, and at times they can do pretty well, and they're serviceable. But I think you need what you're saying, Nestor. Is you need an elite guy. It's somebody that Lamar really gets with, and I think it's super important this year. I sort of have had my off-season view of what they need to do has been colored by this vision I keep having. Keep seeing this image of Lamar flat on his back in Buffalo, concussed and out of the game because of a snap from center. It's like, you can't have that anymore. That has to end. And it was a problem all last year. And to me, and I even see it as a larger thing, it's like you got to get that offensive line together. They've had some periods of time where it's been pretty good, but you need to get some elite guys in there, some high, first, second round picks, good free agents, not just undrafted guys that you've coached up, and make that better. This is a running football team, and you need to protect. Lamar is the key to everything. You got to protect him. You can't send him running back there to get concussed when he's chasing a snap from center. So clean that up. That has sort of been my thought all off season.
Well, the other part of this is getting grown-ups in, right? Like Kevin Zeitler's a grown-ass man, right?
Yeah.
Villanueva, grown-ass man. If they saw, they're 30-year-old men. They are going to the Matt Burke school at that point now, aren't they? And the Bryant McKinney role, right?
I was really glad to see that their primary first free agent signing and their biggest one, it looked like to me, is a guard. That needs to be. And it wouldn't, if they go offensive line in the first round, which is boring, and people will say boring, and the usual crowd will say, I can't believe they didn't get a wide receiver. I am fine with it. Offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. That is my story of this offseason.
Oh, you just said the two words we've been on the air 20 minutes. You haven't said wide receiver until a minute ago, right? Like that is put 105.7 on. That's what all the amateur hour, wide receiver, Sammy Watkins, wide receiver. They have put a lot of draft capital into this position, right? Whether it's Hollywood Brown, Duvernay, we go on and on, right? So where are you on the wide receiver thing? I probably as far down as I am. I usually, it's not the first thing I think they need. The first thing I think they need is having the wide receivers they have catch the ball and have Lamar deliver the ball and have time to deliver the ball without getting crushed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the guys can play. And that's fine if they want to take some guy. In this draft, you can get him in the third round. You can get him at 104, a guy that you can put out there. So I'm not too worried about that. They got Duvernay last year in that round. He's a guy with talent. Get him the ball. I agree. I like what they've done. I think it's really interesting what they did with the coaches this year with, bringing in this pass game route running specialist. He's not the pass game coordinator. He's the pass game specialist. It's the difference of one word and a title. But, what it means is they're just focusing on technique. And let's see if we can really coach these young guys up and see if it works that way, because they do have some talent. And Duvernay, Boykin, and get them the ball. Devin Duvernay had 26 targets in 2020. How do we know what he's like? That's like a redshirt year. How do you know what he has? Get him out there, get him the ball, and see what happens. I think you can't judge them until you start to do that more. And the excuse or the explanation always, it's a running offense. I get it. So they don't throw the ball as much, but and Lamar's uncomfortable throwing certain places on the field. But you have to keep evolving there. You have to get those guys looped into the offense more.
John Eisenberg is our guest. You can find him out at ravens.com. He'll be up late on Thursday night as we're dealing up and back out of 27-31. Who knows what Eric DeCosta is going to do? So, as long as he doesn't sign Earl Thomas the morning after is the only thing I'm interested in. John, for the Ravens and for the league and for Goodell and 17 games and nothing is stopped, right? Like whether they play football on Wednesday afternoons, this weekend, everything will stop. We got 2 picks now. I know you got your Raven shirt on. I got my Raven shirt underneath too. Sports hasn't been a whole lot of fun, right? Like, I mean, like over the last year, beginning of the plague, everything shut down, everything goes away. The Ravens were good, but you couldn't go out and enjoy it. The Orioles stink and they're open and nobody wants to go. This draft thing might be as much fun as we have for a while, right? I mean, sports wise, but it's starting to feel like I got one shot. I'm getting my second shot 2 weeks from now. That the trains are starting to get back on track to do things normally. This draft may be sort of the beginning of that. From a you and I've spent a half an hour. We haven't mentioned the plague lately, right? We haven't mentioned any of that. We don't feel like there won't be a game in September. We're not really talking about whether you'll be able to go or I'll be able to go. I think we're both assuming we'll be able to go. There's a schedule coming out May 12th. We're thinking like, oh, when's the Vegas trip? When's the Denver trip? When's the Miami trip? Like, I'm putting things into my calendar again. Been a long time coming, but I look up at the NFL after a year when the world went away. They're just growing. 17 games, adding players, bringing the salary cap down, adding the media money on the back end. This is the one thing that is still an incredible rocket ship as it goes, right?
Well, they made it through the year. I mean, what happened was in the pandemic year of 2020, the NFL, and there were hiccups, and there was a big hiccup here, and there was big hiccups at on other teams. And but they made it through. They had a season. It was different. I mean, the stadium. I was at the stadium when there are no fans there, and they're playing these games is weird. I mean, just flat out weird. And
it will not be amongst the best highlights of your life. It won't be anything you want to remember.
Just
literally.
Really strange. And I give the players a lot of credit. Like, the TV product, you couldn't really tell a difference with the piped in noise and all that. And the players played hard and the games were good. It was kind of an interesting season. No, we couldn't partake. You couldn't be there and you couldn't be in the stands, but it was an interesting season.
It didn't feel Eddie Feigner. It felt real.
It felt real. And then at the end of the year, by the end of the year, of course, the CDC is out there saying, we like some of what the NFL did in terms of, how to keep it from spreading. Talking about the virus, there's some things that they identified we're going to put into our best practices, and they did a pretty good job of it. And
such a good job that they could contact trace back to their strength and conditioning coach.
Well, absolutely, and those were all learning experiences for them, and they were pretty good at it, and so they figured out who could and who couldn't, and how it was going to be, where it was most transmissible and where it wasn't, and so the NFL came through it pretty well, is what I'm saying. And and now I don't know whether the stands will be full. I got made you get the heebie-jeebies even thinking about that. So I don't know, but there will be more people there. And, I look forward to it. And yeah, the draft is part of that. It's going to be fun to have like a real season with fans in the stands, and you don't have to pipe in the noise.
All right, this is when we get to the fun part of the show. This used to be the lead. Now we bore you with the chorus. The Orioles, they're playing, John, and they're playing real games right out the window here. Where are you with baseball? I mean, you and I have loved it our whole lives. What do you give me some observations?
I am watching the games. I'm interested sort of in it.
Not sort of.
Yeah, not not religiously by any means. I do like watching John Means pitch. I can take joy in that, and I'm just in terms of the on-field product, it's kind of interesting what they're doing with these young guys, and I do think they have some smart people in charge of the baseball operation, and it's interesting what they're doing. We'll see whether it works. It's nice to see some young players starting to come here, and I think they're legitimate players. So we'll see where that goes. As far as the sport itself, I mean, I do have some issues with things that I'm seeing that I don't like. I can't stand a 7-inning Major League Baseball game.
Or worse than that, a 7-inning no-hitter. It's even worse.
A 7-inning game. The runner on second in the extra innings. It does end the games, and it helps the Orioles. There's no question about it. I'll give a shout out to my son, Wick, who I know that you know, and they won a game a few weeks ago with the runner on second, and he immediately texted me. He goes, "No way we're winning that game because we couldn't get a runner to second base. They had to put it on second. You put the runner on second, and you get away with it. That was the only
It's
way."
socialism is what it is.
Yeah, because otherwise they ain't getting that guy to second without help. So it helps the Orioles. I think that's
Yankees
true.
spent a lot of money trying to get that guy to second base in the 10th inning, right? They
Yeah,
do.
they did. So I don't know. And plus just the way the game is, I'm not enjoying it as much with the shifts. I think are too powerful. I mean, I'm a get off. I'm sounding like a get off your lawn
Please,
guy.
I mean, John, I sit here and talked about this all day. I mean, Moeller seems to think the 10th inning thing's cute, right? He likes whatever they do. They've garnered this audience now where a guy like me gets thrown out for speaking out. They've only garnered the people that are there apparently will love anything they do. That's sort of what's left of it. And the rest of it are people like you and me sitting around saying, all right, like I've loved it my whole life. Why am I not going? Why am I not jonesing to go? Why am I not? I've been locked in my house for a year. This is the one
Yeah.
thing I could do on an 80-degree night. I said to my wife, the Yankees are in town. It's going to be 80 degrees. Like it's outdoor, but you have to leave a mask on when you go. So there is part of that. Like the reason I want to be outside is to not wear a mask, not being outside and masked, right? So
Well,
I
I don't
try to
blame
stay
him
away
there.
from people.
I don't
So
blame him there. I mean, I don't blame
oh,
him.
I'm not blaming them. I'm just
Yeah.
saying do I want to do this Wednesday night? Do I want to go over there and wear a mask for 4 hours outside at a game, or just want to sit in my house and watch it on TV? Or do I want to do something else with my time? And I think they're up against getting you and me reinterested enough to go, or Wick or my son or anybody else that's ever been to a ball game. But then there's just sort of what we're going to get when we get there, which is something for the get off my lawn people, something we don't recognize anymore. Like when we go back, the shifts, the slowness of the game, the ball's never in play. It's a home run, it's a walk, it's a strikeout. The game's 4 hours long. I really don't know the players. There's nobody there. There's no atmosphere. I'm there for the freaking crab races. I mean, I like literally I'm wondering what's going to get us back and then what's going to get our children and their children interested because we
Yeah.
love it from birth and we're not going,
Yeah, it's a fair question. I mean, I'm in a family of baseball fans. Everybody watches in different places, and so but we're not really the issue. I mean, even with all the weird stuff going on in the 7 inning games and
But
all this
are you a
crazy.
$300 Sunday family to take, are
No,
you that? You're,
at this point, no. But I
they
do
need
think.
somebody to be. That's my point.
Yeah,
My point is
right,
you can say, well, my kid loves, we all love baseball. Great. When's the last time you gave him $300, pulled a credit card out and said,
right,
I'm really going to buy a ticket and go give them $42 tonight to go see the Yankees and sit somewhere halfway decent, right?
right.
Like that's a $200 night. I mean, tonight on a Tuesday, a Wednesday, whatever it is, how many people are making that decision right now? And people that love baseball, everybody I talk to loves baseball. But then I say, when's the last time you spent money on it?
Well, I will try it and see what it's like. I've been told by a couple people it's a little strange there, and it's not what it was. It's nice to be back. But yeah, I mean, your point, your macro point is correct. I don't know how many people are. Let's see if you put a winning team on the field. Who knows? People love winners. I think that's a. I mean, you're. This is dovetailing with weird stuff going on in baseball and a pandemic and the Orioles being bad. Just in terms of just immediacy this year. But let's say they had a pretty good team. Who knows? I mean, that is a different situation. But so I'd be curious to see that. But it's going to be a couple more years, so we'll see.
If we were just Padre fans and stayed up late, we'd be having fun right now, right? Allegedly.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Or
DeGrom's great, right? The Padres, Dodgers. I mean, I don't sit here and urinate on baseball. I can do that all day, but there are some good things going on with the sport the first month in. I mean, some of the things are good.
oh yeah, you got those big crowds in Texas, Nestor. Come on now, they got those big crowds in
Your
Texas.
people. That's why. See, I always wondered why did you leave? I don't wonder why you left. I've met people from Dallas. Trust me, you're better off here. They
Yeah.
let the nice ones leave, so you're here. John Eisenberg is here. He'll be writing Ravens, and he'll be covering all things Ravens this weekend. He's also working on a book. Do you want to talk about your book at all? Because I think it's very topical. I mean, I think it's a cool thing you're taking on here.
Well, sure. Thank you. I'm in the midst of this. I'm writing it this year. It'll be out next year. I'm writing a book on the history of black quarterbacks in pro football, going back a century to the very beginning, 1920 Fritz Pollard. And going forward from there, I'm spending a lot of time in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the guys that pushed at the ceiling, and some didn't make it through. Eldridge Dickey and Joe Gilliam, he made it through briefly, and then James, Shaq Harris, and guys that started to make it. It's an epic tale. It's in many respects, a sad tale.
Reflects our
Until
country.
it just reflects the country, and of course, it's all changed in the last 5 to 10 years. Fortunately, finally. And so it's interesting to see. It's the evolution of the sport, as well as the changing of some very closed minds. It's not a story that football should be proud of, because it's ugly. It's discrimination at its finest. But it is a story that needs to be told. I mean, some people know it, but maybe not some details. So I'm working on that.
Well, I'm looking forward to this. I hope you find my old pal Randall Cunningham and chat with him a little bit, giving me a
Yep.
thrill back in the day too. So I'm looking forward to it. I will continue to stay in touch with you. Hopefully we'll have a crab cake, maybe a baseball game. I don't know, John. I mean, you don't call me when you come down to Oriole games. Tell Wick, man. Tell Wick we'll go to a ball game. Catch
Okay.
up. That's what we need
All
to do.
right. All right. You'll get an earful. That'd be good.
We've all been trapped in homes too long. We need to get out and interact a little bit. Second shot for me next week, John. I'll be out on the curb by the end of May. All right.
Good. Good for you. Congratulations. I'm all done.
Stay up late. Enjoy the draft over the weekend. We'll be reading and following along at Ravens.com. Always good to visit with you, pal.
Good with you. Thanks for having me on.
John Eisenberg, live from the Stoneleigh, Towson area, joining us here on WNST in Baltimore Positive. Big shout out to our newest sponsor, Wise Markets. We're taking intelligent conversations now and making them wise conversations. So eat better, spend less. That's wise. And we have some wise conversations. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore Positive.